Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Couch Brotato Podcast. We are continuing our spooky season month where we're giving you episodes based on some of our favorite horror movies of the season. And on today's show, I have Jen joining me to talk about her pick, Trick or Treat. That's right, the 2009 cult classic, the straight-to-DVD phenomenon, which has become kind of essential viewing for this time of the year, is what we're talking about today. We're going to give you our thoughts on our favorite scenes, our favorite lines of dialogue, some fun facts about the movie, and I'm going to try to get my wife to explain why she does not listen to this podcast anymore. So to hear all of our thoughts on those topics, stay tuned after the trailer as we give to you Trick or Treat.
Jack-o'-lanterns. Putting on costumes. Handing out treats. This is the one night that the dead roam free.
You gotta be f***ing kidding me.
It's my first time, so just bear with me.
Always check your candy. Happy Halloween.
Jen's joining me on the show this evening, and right before we came on, found out that my wife thinks that this show is so bad, she quit listening to it months ago. Care to explain yourself?
Geez, thanks for calling me out there to your millions of listeners out in the world. Really appreciate that.
Usually I'll ask my guests how they're doing before they hop on, but since you basically told me how bad this show is because you just gave up. Do you still follow the show?
I do follow the show, but it's not on automatic downloads, and I actually just found that out the other day. So,
which is code for your show sucks. I just don't listen to it anymore.
Nope, it's not that at all.
You bring loud ass Will on there. You have Adam, who carries the show. You suck as a host. That's what that's code for.
Mm-hmm.
It's
it's actually called that you've done a lot of wrestling episodes recently. Actually, out of the past couple months, you've had a lot of wrestling episodes, and I do not follow wrestling like you do, in my defense. And as I stated, the last episode we did together, I haven't even listened to that. And it's myself on there. So
I was about ready to go all Tom Cruise from A Few Good Men on you, but fuck, you're kind of right. I've done some wrestling episodes recently.
Yep, you have. You've done quite a few wrestling episodes recently. And it seems since you were heavily concentrated on that, and I figured I'd start listening again. And when you started doing some movie stuff that piqued my fancy. So that is why I have not listened recently. It has nothing to do with your content or your show.
You mean to tell me that the Jean-Claude Van Damme classic Hard Target doesn't pique your interest?
No, not really. I'm not a huge fan.
He plays a Cajun...
I don't even think I've seen that movie.
He plays a Cajun merchant marine who helps a young lady find her missing father. And it turns out her father was killed by a group of rich guys that hunt humans for sport.
And that movie sounds terrible.
That movie is fucking awesome.
But it's terrible as well.
It's good. It has Wilford Brimley.
Oh, Lord.
Mr. Diabetes himself and the Quaker Oats guy.
You lost me at Wilford Brimley.
Wilford Brimley, God rest his soul, plays his uncle Duvet, who helps him towards the end of it.
And I bet his accent's terrible. It's probably awful. And does Jean-Claude Van Damme have a Cajun accent as well?
He has a French accent.
Oh gosh.
And I think it's a French accent.
Is he Austrian?
No, he is Belgian.
Oh, so
he's called the Muscles from Brussels.
Okay. Oh, geez, Louise, that's terrible. That's just terrible. That movie sounds awful. I'm sorry. Is it really good or it's not bad good?
It's bad good.
Okay. I'm just like,
But I love it though. And you will watch it since you've never seen it. I'm going to introduce it to you sometime very, very soon.
Okay. Well, we can watch that later in the evening when I'm bound to fall asleep on the couch.
I guarantee it that you will be captivated by the action set pieces in the Big Easy.
So stay tuned, everyone, for a future episode to find out whether I did or did not fall asleep during Hard Target. Chances are I probably fell asleep.
I think I'll do an episode called Harder Target, and I'll have Adam come back on and then you will tell us what you thought of Hard Target.
Well, it's if I don't fall asleep during it. That's the thing.
You won't.
Okay.
I will bet you a crisp Abraham Lincoln.
To be seen. We'll see what happens.
I will bet you a crisp Abraham Lincoln that you don't fall asleep.
We'll see. Okay.
All right. Well, enough of that. We're doing spooky season month here on the show. We are taking some of my guests, some of their favorite horror movies, and discussing them. Last episode, we had a good friend of the show, Steven, come on. Him and I are huge David Fincher fans. We talked about Seven. I think it's a pretty good episode. Check it out. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. There's a cheap plug of the episode. Invited you on today, and you chose Trick or Treat.
That is correct.
What made you choose Trick or Treat?
Well, you actually introduced me to Trick or Treat. I don't remember the year it came out, but it's been a couple years now at least. Well, it's been more than that probably. But I think it's just a refreshing take on horror movies. I mean, especially current horror movies, because they definitely are not made as well as they used to be in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and some even in the 90s. And I also like the concept that it's an anthology movie, but it doesn't seem like it's an anthology movie. You know, for example, if I'm not mistaken, is it Creep Show? Isn't that like an anthology?
Yeah, Creep Show.
But that's very evident. It's anthology because they introduce each different story, and the stories are all kind of interconnected somehow, and it just flows so seamlessly. You know that it's an anthology, but it doesn't present itself that way. So I think that's one of the great things about it, and that's why I chose it.
Yeah. I really like it too. Like you said, it's kind of like a cool take on like Halloween movies. And it kind of, what I liked about it is it kind of makes Halloween seem important. And brings us up to our first category. It's called What the Fuck Is This About? Tell you what this movie's about. This is a movie where basically 5 interwoven stories that occur on Halloween night, including a high school principal that has a secret life as a serial killer, a college virgin may have met the guy of her dreams, a group of teenagers pull a mean prank, and a mean old man meets his match with a demonic supernatural trick-or-treater. And of course, we also had the opening too. So that's what that's about. It's kind of like they're all connected by I don't know what he's called. He looks like a creature.
He reminds me of Pumpkinhead in a way.
His name's Sam.
But it's like Pumpkinhead meets Tim Burton. Is like if Tim Burton drew Pumpkinhead, that's what Sam would be.
Yeah.
For sure.
He's kind of like, he was like the cool new horror movie character for a while, I would say, until I think Art the Clown from the Terrifier series came along.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the cool it guy at the moment, but yeah, he's kind of like the glue that holds all these stories together. But yeah, it's kind of in the mold of Creep Show. Creep Show, fantastic anthology movie. Wasn't that a Romero flick? I think it was George Romero did Creep Show.
I'm pretty sure it was George Romero, and I love that movie. That's actually one of my favorite horror movies from the 80s is Creep Show. I think it's from the 80s. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that was made in the mid 80s.
Yes, it was directed by the great George Romero, and it was written by Stephen King.
That's right. I think that was a novella, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's a screenplay.
Was it just a screenplay? Okay. So then was it made in the 80s?
Yes,
it mid-80s?
1982.
Oh, that's the year I was born.
Yeah.
Okay.
See? All right. So you said that I introduced you to Trick or Treat. When was the first time you'd seen it?
With you?
Yeah.
Didn't we go to theaters and see that? I thought we did.
We will get into that here in some of the Did You Know portion of the show. But, well, I guess we'll just talk about that now. This movie was made to be a theatrical release back in 2007.
It's that old?
Well, not quite. Warner Brothers never pulled the trigger and released it in the theaters.
Uh-huh.
It kind of languished around, and then eventually was a direct-to-DVD movie.
Really?
Got released in 2009, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But
okay.
see, like, friend of the show, Luke, who's been on the show time or two, he was the one that kind of told me about it because he'd read stuff on the internet.
Okay.
And then we'd watch the trailer. It done some festival stuff.
Like
some,
an indie
horror
fest, like a
movie,
Sundance type style thing?
like horror conventions, things like that. It kind of did a couple of those. And I'll talk about more of that here in the Did You Know portion. But it kind of got a few screenings, but it never got a theatrical run. And then they just dumped it on the DVD.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's like a cult classic now, isn't it?
I would probably consider it a cult classic. Yeah. I mean, it's gained notoriety over the years. And I think it's kind of one of those movies that's almost essential viewing this time of the year.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that. I didn't know it had been so long since it was made, yet alone released.
Right.
Jeez.
Well, the tale of the tape, this was released technically December the 9th, 2007. This was shown at the Ain't It Cool News Butt Numathon, which
a what-a-thon?
It was a movie.
Did you say button up-a-thon?
Butt Numb-a-thon.
Butt numb.
It was like a kind of like a movie marathon, like Harry Knowles from Ain't It Cool News. Guy that has not aged very well. He used to run kind of like the site for like movie news for nerds, and then he turns out he was kind of a creep, and he got canceled, rightfully so.
Okay.
But yeah, he had a movie marathon. It was called the Butt Numb-a-thon, and that was when this was first shown. And then it was eventually released onto DVD on October the 6th, 2009. This stars quite a few people, but most of you will know Anna Paquin from True Blood. She was Rogue in the X-Men series. Dylan Baker, and one of my personal favorite actors, the incomparable Brian Cox, who is most known as Logan Roy in Succession. But he's been around for a long time. Tons of good stuff. Great actor.
Does he play the old man?
Yeah, he plays Old Man Creek.
Okay, makes sense.
Directed by Michael Dougherty, who was the screenwriter for Superman Returns, amongst other movies. Rotten Tomatoes score 82% from critics and a 72% score from audiences. The box office for this, nothing to report because it never got a theatrical release. Didn't win any awards, and you can stream this on Max, which used to be HBO Max, so that's where you can check it out.
That did pretty well on the Rotten Tomatoes score, considering it never made a theatrical release. It's pretty high.
Well, a lot of times, though, there's really good movies that get released straight to DVD, but they just don't put them out in theaters because they don't think there would be an audience for them, and they can always recoup some of their loss. Well, now they do the video on demand stuff,
right?
But that's where they make a lot of their hay now, and a lot of times they're just dump it out there just so somebody will check it out, but they don't think it's going to do well enough in theaters.
Makes sense.
But yeah, getting into that now. Did you know? These are some fun facts about the movie, little tidbits, behind the scenes shit.
All right,
if you will.
Let's do it.
Like I said, this was supposed to come out in 2007, but it eventually got released straight to DVD in 2009. Doing a little research, the two theories that seemed to come in most of my research was they bumped it from 2007 because they were afraid of it going up against the fourth installment of the Saw series, which I guess 4, Saw was still a pretty big
Oh yeah,
juggernaut. This was
yeah.
almost like a 50, 60, $70 million guaranteed opening at this time. And subsequently, as those movies got worse, the box office returns got smaller and smaller. But yeah, at the time, Saw was a huge franchise.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't want to go up against Saw at that time.
Yeah.
No way.
And then the other theory that I read is Michael Dougherty wrote Superman Returns, the Bryan Singer, Brandon Routh Superman that had Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Yep.
It was kind of a disappointment for Warner Brothers, and they kind of think, or at least some of the stuff I read, they said it was kind of a punishment for Superman kind of being a disappointment. Superman was kind of like, that was the movie Warner Brothers had their whole year around. Like, this was going to be their big title.
Right.
It never lived up to the hype. And they think that kind of, like Dougherty being the screenwriter on that, he kind of got some of the backlash for that. So they think that's why it never got. But, looking back at it now, it doesn't make a lot of sense because they gave him the green light to direct a movie for him.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, they could have easily just shelved that, say, we're not releasing this. But
true.
But this movie did eventually get a theatrical release in October 22. They did those Fathom events. Like sometimes you'll see, like if you go to like a big theater chain, it was like, Fathom events, one night only, Back to the Future, the 30th anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
Like
they bring back an old movie that's been out forever. And well, I mean, this one hasn't been out forever, like Back to the Future, but.
Yeah. But this was, they did the same thing for that. Got a short run in 22. So
okay.
It did eventually get a theatrical release, but not enough to really get box office mojo to chart it.
Got ya.
So the character of Sam is short for Sam Hain, which I always thought was a person. There's a band called Sam Hain. It's fronted by Glenn Danzig.
Sam Hain is All Hallows Eve, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, it's a Celtic festival.
Yes.
It's like a festival for the dead. I never knew that until I did research for this.
Yeah.
I thought Sam Hain was a character.
Nope.
Well, goddamn.
Didn't Sam Hain normally take place? Was it on the 30th or the 31st?
I didn't get that far in the research.
Because there's a festival that was All Hallows Eve and then Halloween, but Halloween, it's either Halloween or the night before Halloween is when the veil between our world and then the afterworld or afterlife or what have you is supposed to be thinnest. And I want to say that Sam Hain, the name of Sam Hain comes from that somehow, but I don't know that for sure. I want to say I read that somewhere, but.
Well, I didn't know.
I mean, you can add it to the show notes perhaps because I could totally be wrong on all or some of that information. So.
It's a Gaelic festival.
Oh, Gaelic.
That starts on the 1st of November.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So. Didn't know that.
So then
the only holidays that I know that take place on Halloween besides Halloween is Devil's Night, where that's where people destroy the city of Detroit. They murder a rock star and his pregnant girlfriend, and then the rock star comes back.
What are you talking
resurrected from the dead to avenge their murders.
Are you talking about the movie The Crow?
Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake. Jesus.
I was
going to say, I know that sounds familiar, but Sam Hain is a festival of what then? If it starts on November 1st.
Yeah, it's just a festival for the dead.
Kind of like Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, something like that, because that's around November too. So then the 30th and the 31st of Halloween is just what? An American, like a Hallmark holiday type thing?
I don't think it's a Hallmark holiday.
Well, I mean, Halloween's only been around... I don't know if they had it when my mom was a kid. I'd have to ask her. But
Trick or Treat's been a thing for a long time.
Hasn't? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Hallmark Channel doesn't have like a month devoted of like Halloween movies yet. It's not quite on Christmas's level.
I read something about how Trick or Treat started, and I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but I believe that it started in the States.
I'll look that up.
Yeah, I know it's been at least since the 1900s. I just can't remember how it became so popular.
Let's see. Halloween has its roots in the ancient pre-Christian Celtic festival of Samhain, which was celebrated on the night of October the 31st. Wikipedia fucking lied to me.
So Samhain was originally celebrated on the 31st. Okay.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
that's when it started.
I mean, it's like a pagan holiday type thing, I believe.
What was your favorite, your all-time favorite character that you dressed up for Trick or Treat?
Me?
Yeah. Your best and your worst. That you look back like, I shouldn't have done that.
Shoot. Oh, when I was little, I dressed up like a Freddy Krueger one year. That was actually a really good costume. My mom found the mask, and I'm not a fan of mask at all. I don't like stuff on my face like that. But I sucked it up because I wanted to be Freddy Krueger. And we took an old sweater that I had, and I think she put fabric dye or something on it to give it the red and green effect. And then I wore a hat we found, and then we found the mask and the glove.
Did you get the good glove that looks like the one he had, or did you get that piece of shit that I had one year that had like the tips had claws on them?
No, I had the whole glove. We got it. I thought, well, at that time, Spirit Halloween wasn't a thing. I want to say we got it at Kmart or Hills. For those of you who live near to us in Ohio, you know what I'm referring to. Those are stores of long ago that are now gone.
Oh yeah, Spirit Halloween taking over abandoned storefronts.
Yeah, and
everywhere
to a neighborhood
September.
near you.
My mom, love her to pieces. I asked her to be Freddy Krueger one year.
Is this your worst?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, I have a tie for the worst.
Oh.
She got me the Freddy Krueger glove, but instead of the actual one that had like the blades and stuff, somebody made a fucking mat or a glove that had just these little tips on the fingers.
Are you talking about like a regular like cold weather glove?
It looked kind of
something like that. I know what you're talking about.
Like silver plastic, like
they were like glued. Yeah,
like
they were terrible.
Coat hooks.
Yep.
And when she handed that to me, she's like, "Here you go. You can be." I'm like, I just looked at it like, this Freddy Krueger doesn't wear this.
Oh, she tried. Yeah, she probably didn't know. I mean,
it looked like a fucking back scratcher.
Oh, hell's bells.
And then,
so that was one of your worst. So my best was your worst, or one of your worst.
Yeah, the other one was
funny.
I was so stoked to be the T-800 from Terminator 2.
Oh shit, that would be hard to pull off though.
Well, basically they sold a kit, and it had a leather jacket.
Oh Lord!
And it had the black Arnold Schwarzenegger sunglasses.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of him in like his android or his robotic form, not as Arnold Schwarzenegger himself. So
I grew up poor. Like, there's no way my mom was gonna like.
I mean, you could have painted your skin silver. I mean, I don't know.
I was a fat kid. No one's making a fat robot. But I went around and I got like a fake toy shotgun. I was done up. I thought, this is like, I'm rocking Halloween. I'm going to kill Halloween this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the first house I went to, I knocked on the door, said trick or treat. The lady asked me if I was Elvis Presley.
Oh gosh.
And
you thought you were with a gun?
Yeah, I had a fucking shotgun in my hand.
Somebody got that costume though, right? Like what you were supposed to be?
I don't remember.
Or did you get like a million different Elvis and whoever else?
I was traumatized as a kid.
I'm sorry. Well,
I swallowed my hurt in fucking candy.
My worst was one year I dressed up as a hobo. And it happened to be a year I was little when I had an awful perm. And it was raining out that day and my hair was just like super frizzy. And my mom put like blush on my cheeks, like the little red circles.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Apparently that was the hobo look. It's like they drew like a fake beard.
Yeah. It was one of those like she was referring, I think, to like a picture in a magazine or something of a hobo costume back then. Yeah, they did the fake beard. So she drew that on with, I think, eyeliner. The blush I ended up being allergic to, and it broke me out in like little hive, like red spots on my face. So the whole time we were trick or treating, I was just like itching myself. And the costume was too big, so it hung off of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then my little knapsack thing, I think, fell apart. So it started out looking kind of decent. There were just like a couple hiccups and things with it. But as the night wore on, like it got worse. Like shit kept breaking. You know, my hair went to hell because it was gross out.
So you went from being dressed up as a hobo for Halloween to actually looking like you could be homeless.
Perhaps, yes. Yeah, it was not a good thing at all.
Well,
so,
but yeah, that's the tradition of Halloween, gang. If anything you get out of this podcast, now you know where Halloween started. In the old 1700s, across the pond.
Oh, was it the 1700s?
Yeah.
Is that when it originated?
Yeah. Getting back to the movie, Trick or Treat. This movie was based on an animated short film, Season's Greetings, which was released in 96, done by Michael Dougherty, which introduces the character of Sam. And apparently, Season's Greetings was one of the working titles for this movie. I guess when I was doing some research, they were kind of tossing around different ideas on what to call it. Season's Greetings was going to be the movie originally, and then they thought it sounded too much like Christmas.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Was that still the same story, or did it start out as a story about Christmas?
Yeah.
So.
And then they also tossed around Halloween Terrors, Jack-o'-lantern Tales, and October the 31st, which all of those titles fucking suck.
Yeah, those are terrible. Bad. Trick or Treat, when you first think about it, kind of sounds like a weird title for a movie, but then once you see it, I feel like it makes sense.
Yeah.
But those other titles, yeah, that would not have worked whatsoever. Like, if I saw a movie that was just called October 31st, I'd be like, and?
Yeah.
So, like, it's, you know, it's Halloween and Halloween Tales. That just sounds like very generic.
That gets the Randy Jackson. That's going to be a gnaw from me, dog.
Yeah, exactly.
The look of Brian Cox's character, Mr. Krieg, is based on the famous horror director John Carpenter, who's one of my personal favorite directors, and if you follow the show, may have a John Carpenter movie coming up. So,
ooh,
and then the last one that I have is the opening credits. The comic book montage, if you pay attention to that, it spoils the whole movie for you. It tells you everything that's going to happen in the movie.
Oh, really? Yeah, I never pay attention to it. Maybe because it's the pages and whatnot are flipping so fast.
Yeah,
across the screen.
I never paid attention to it until we watched it getting ready for the show. And I already had some of these facts done. And then I paid attention to it. I was like, oh, shit, the whole fucking movie's spoiled. So
is that when you figured it out for the first time?
I never knew that the comic book.
So you just figured it out as we were watching it last week then?
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
I was like, well, I'll be damned. They are doing it. But yeah, that's all I have in terms of fun facts. There's some stuff you can always look up on Wikipedia. Tons of stories about this movie too, just like the trouble that they went through trying to get this a theatrical release so people can actually check it out. So yeah, it's kind of cool stuff. They finally got it out. But the next category we have, and the last time you were on the show, some of these category titles have changed. Of course, that seems to be a running gimmick on the show. Is like I'm never satisfied with the names of these categories. So always come up something new.
Switching them around all the time.
Yeah. So this category, it's for the best scene of the movie. It's the Martin Scorsese This Is Cinema Award for the best scene of the movie.
Okay.
My personal favorite is the whole bus massacre scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rough, especially, you know, you and I have two kids. It's rough seeing that, but it's so well done. It's so tense.
Are you talking about where the bus goes into the quarry?
Basically, I guess to change this around.
And the kids coming back from the dead?
Yeah, the whole.
See, now I'm not a huge fan of the bus, like going in the lake, just because it, you know, having kids and stuff like that, it just kind of tears at my heartstrings a little bit. But what I do like in conjunction and part of what you're talking about, I love when they get their revenge. Like, that's when they show up at the old man's doorstep. I'm just like, that's great. And then it kind of ties it together who he actually is. So that's probably one of my favorite scenes. Sorry, I didn't mean to take away from what you were saying, but
Yeah, I don't know. I just like that one. I think since it hits a little close to home for us, I mean, it's just kind of like, that was actually kind of a terrifying sequence to see. Plus, it's like, really, like, what kind of piece of shit parent are you that you pay off a bus driver to kill your kid?
And why does the bus driver stay in the same damn town after he does it? Like,
well, for those of you that have not seen this, yeah, you kind of foreshadowed the last story of the movie. But
sorry for the spoiler.
Well, I don't know. If you watch the movie, it fucking tells you everything happens in the first 2 minutes anyways.
So, yeah. So we already said that anyway. So fuck
and
it,
the movie's from 2009. I mean, it's fucking, 20 or 15 years old almost.
It's not like
You're
we're
good.
talking about something that's out in theaters right now and we're spoiling a movie that's out in theaters for somebody who hasn't seen it. So,
well, we have done that before on the show.
Oh, well, I have not done that. So, and I don't want to be responsible for that. So, that said.
But yeah, I think that bus massacre, or like the bus going over the cliff, is probably the best scene in the movie. Plus, like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know why, like, those kids that play that, because I guess it's tied in, the bus scene is tied in with the kids playing the prank on the girl. Did they ever say what's wrong with her? I'm guessing she has like autism.
I think she's on the spectrum somewhere. Yeah, it's what it seems like.
Yeah. And
they don't really, I don't think they really come out and say. I think it's just in her mannerisms. That's what is presumed.
They allude to it.
Right.
Plus, I mean, I don't know. It was I kind of enjoyed seeing, what was that girl's name? Dolores? I can't remember. She was the girl that plays the witch.
Doris or Dolores. It was one of the two, but I think that she felt empathetic with those kids because she was kind of like them, and that she was, her mind just worked differently from other kids. And I think that's what was wrong with those kids too.
Mm-hmm.
So, they just probably had mental health problems or behavioral issues. And
yeah, so I think they allude to, and I never really thought of it at the time, but yeah, they allude to the kids on the bus are all dealing with some kind of
but they say that they're dangerous, and I think that kind of gives premise to how mental illness was always like a dirty little secret, and a lot of times parents would just shuffle their kids away to private schools or even schools out of the county and different things like that. And I think if I'm not mistaken, it says in the movie, these parents every day, they put these kids on the bus to and they go to a school across town, and it's like a secret or something like that. And it's just like, they're embarrassed of their children because they have whatever those issues may be. They don't come out and say, they just say that they're dangerous and they're like handcuffed to the seats. So I think it's kind of a nod to how mental health was treated in this country back then.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well,
just rambling, but
those 4 kids, including that bitch of a girl that fucks with her.
Oh man, she's awful.
Yeah, they violate one of Sam's rules of trick or treat, and then of course they get their comeuppance.
Does he have rules of trick or treat? Do they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they ever come out and say.
I was going to say I don't remember,
but what I gather is costume. Because if you notice, everybody that dies has violated one of these rules. So you got to wear a costume.
So who wasn't wearing a costume that got killed?
Thurman Merman.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that kid's name is, but he's always going to be Thurman Merman.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either.
Always hand out candy.
Okay, yeah.
Which the couple at the beginning, she did not hand out candy.
Oh, true. Yep.
Don't blow out the candles of a jack-o'-lantern. She also...
Oh, she did that too?
And then respect the dead, which those kids didn't do.
No, they absolutely did not. Nope. They were shits, and they got what they deserved.
Yeah.
So.
But that was my favorite scene in the movie. What was yours?
Well, like I mentioned, I like how it all came around to I liked the scene where the kids were coming back from the dead and they were like getting their revenge on the assholes that didn't respect the dead. But then one of the scenes that I really liked was how it came back around to the bus driver at the end. And then they got additional revenge there, which really was the ultimate revenge because he was the one responsible for their deaths. And then the other scene that I really liked was Anna Paquin, when I'm guessing it was the first time that she had become a werewolf under the full moon. I thought that scene was really cool because up into that, it kind of put it out there like she was just a virgin and she was going to get laid for the first time. Like when you see the movie from the beginning, you kind of think that that's what it is because her and her sister and their friends are going to party. And she's like, well, you know, it's my first time. I'm nervous. Like, you don't know what to expect out of that. You think it's my first time. Oh, I'm going to party. Oh, we're trying to get dates. You think she's trying to get laid, but she's a vampire and she's trying to find like her first ever victim. So I would have to say if I was going to pick a favorite part, it would probably be that. Like, I honestly did not expect them to be werewolves. But being that she dressed like Little Red Riding Hood, I think that was kind of the clue that was what was going to happen later in the movie. And I even like watching that the first time, I was still surprised when they became werewolves. I was like, oh, that's what that was all about.
Now, see, that's the one scene where I've been trying to figure out why. I'm guessing the principal didn't. He died because when he killed Thurman Merman. I feel bad because I'm calling that, like, that actor has a real name. But
I know. It's we always think of him as Thurman Merman because of Bad Santa.
Want me to make you some sandwiches?
Oh God, I love that movie. We need to do that movie sometime.
Maybe it could be coming up.
We need to. I would definitely be on that if you do choose to do that.
But I thought it was he disrespected the dead because he killed a kid and buried his body in his backyard, and they took the head. Him and his son were going to carve it up as a jack-o'-lantern, which that's being disrespectful of the dead.
Oh,
that's what I thought it was.
Or he could have just been a fucking asshole who got what he deserved for being a serial killer.
Well, he violated one of the rules of trick or treat, though.
You think that's what the whole premise is?
Yeah, okay. I think everybody that dies in this has violated some rule of trick.
Is that in writing somewhere, or is that just what you...
Well, you can look it up online. It's kind of...
Oh, it is. It's out there online. Yeah. That's what he intends by that? Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. The next award, which I kind of debated even keeping this on here because I don't really have a nominee. It's the Paul Walker, I said, Forget About a Cuh award for the best line, whether good or bad, of the movie. I didn't nominate anything for this because I don't think any of the characters were really given enough time to really because everyone's not in this for very long, so there's not really the opportunity to like let them cook for a little bit to kind of have like a monologue of some kind. So for this particular movie, probably one of the only occasions this will happen, but I can't really nominate anybody for this.
I'd agree with that. There's not enough dialogue in it for me either to say, oh, this is definitely my favorite line because there are so few lines.
Yeah. Well, for this, we'll just award it to Paul Walker's unforgettable. I said, Forget About a Cuh from Too Fast, Too Furious. Okay. He wins. Okay. Fair enough.
Works for me. It's your show, man.
All right. The McLovin Award for the Best Supporting or Scene-Stealing Performance. I gave it to Thurman Merman simply because, like, the minute he pops on screen, like, that's fucking Thurman Merman.
Yeah, I do like the part where he's just so gluttonous, sitting there just like bashing full-size candy bars for all he has in him. And I don't know, did Brian Cox, did he put a razor blade, do you think, in the candy?
That's not Brian Cox. That's Dylan Baker. Brian Cox is Dylan Baker's next door neighbor.
Oh,
Brian Cox has the dog because his dog was the one.
He's the one from Succession. He's Logan Roy from Succession. Okay, so do you think that there was a razor blade put in the candy bar, or do you think it was poison?
I think it was poison.
You think it was poison?
Because I can't see somebody like throwing up as much as he did.
Yeah. I've been trying to figure out, like, is it a razor blade that like tore through his esophagus and his stomach and everything and caused that, or was it actually poison? Because I guess if dependent upon how he did it, that might have the same effect either way. I've always wondered that. They never come out and say.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I say that is, because now it's like, oh, watch out for trick or treat. People try to put edibles in your marijuana edibles in your candy, which is bullshit. But anyway, 20, 30 years, like when we were kids, it was, I need to check candy. There might be a razor blade in it. You know what I mean? So because this seemed to be kind of an old-timey, I don't want to say old-timey, but an old-fashioned type horror movie where they did old-fashioned celebration type things for Halloween. That's why I was always thinking, maybe it's the old razor blade and the candy type thing. So
yeah, I remember that. I think that happened when I was a kid. I don't know if that was like anything that predates into the 70s, but I know like when I was a kid, like that was like a big. Like I think there was like an incident on the news, like, check candy.
I think the first thing wasn't like a razor blade and an apple, because the big thing was for people to always hand out apples. And then I think one of the reasons why people switched from like fruit to candy on trick or treat is because of the whole razor blade thing, because somebody or what have you was putting razor blades in fruit or apples or whatever. And then that's when they switched to candy.
When I was a kid, I'd have been so fucking pissed if I came home with like a bag full of apples. I'd been so mad.
I just remember coming home from trick or treat and having to dump out the entire bag of candy on the floor. Along with my brother, he had to do the same, and my parents were like, we have to go through this first.
Oh, look at that score.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. They took some of it too.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the parent tax.
We do the same thing.
I'm walking around for 2 hours. I'm getting some too.
I have to like collect rent,
So we're both giving the McLovin to Thurman Merman.
I would agree with that.
You know what?
Yeah.
Just because I don't feel bad, but just out of sheer curiosity, I need to see what this fucking kid's name is.
He's all grown up in Bad Santa too.
Yeah.
And I Googled his name at one point in time too, because I was curious, and I forget it as well. That's awful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel horrible about it. I mean, his name is Brett Kelly.
Oh, okay. Well, I like Thurman Merman better.
He appeared in Like Mike 2, which I don't know why.
The hell is that?
Like Mike had little Bow Wow as a basketball player.
Oh.
You're not missing anything.
Oh.
The Sandlot 2.
That's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it is. I've never seen it. Unaccompanied Minors, which I've never heard of that movie. Trick or Treat, and then he reprised his role in Bad Santa 2.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he made a nice little killing there for a couple of years, being like kind of the gross kid that everybody makes fun of in school.
Yeah, well, that's terrible. But I mean, I'm sure he owned it. I mean,
yeah. Well, shit. I was making money. I'll be the kid that has a snotty nose and.
Well, yeah, but he
looks like he smells.
He was hilarious in Bad Santa, though.
Yeah.
So funny.
The most 2007 moment of the movie. It's a new category.
Yeah, you've shared.
But for me, it was when Henry, the husband character from the beginning of the movie, Leslie Bibb, her husband, when he goes upstairs and pops in a porno VHS tape into the VCR. Those are like the dying days of VHS right there.
That's true. I don't even think I watched VHS in 2007.
I don't think many people did.
Yeah, no, I was watching DVDs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my pick is the VHS player. I don't know. Do you have anything?
I'm trying to think.
You can't really use the bus driving sequence because that.
So, and I mean, you still see this now, but I do feel like a big thing during this time because I was in my 20s then, and I feel like a big thing during 2007, especially around Halloween. Women wearing costumes like they wore the werewolf ladies or whatever you want to call it. The whole sexy like fairy tale character, because I think one was Cinderella, one was Red Riding or Anna Paquin, one was Red Riding Hood, and then I don't remember what the other one was, but I think she was some sort of princess, like Disney princess or something. And I feel like
I think one of them was Little Bo Peep.
maybe that's what it was. Okay. So another fairy tale. But I feel like a big thing during that time, like how some women always wear like the sexy nurse or the sexy teacher costume, that's kind of like a very unoriginal type thing because it's been done so many times. I think one of the big things around people that were or women rather, that were my age and around when I was in my early 20s at that time, or mid 20s, whatever, was those type of costumes. So that stuck out to me because you don't see so much of that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because they still, like, every time we take the kids to Spirit Halloween, I always see an entire back wall of those costumes. Now, I don't know if it's
that
something
style. Yeah,
I don't know if it's just
do.
the fact that we don't hang around in those kind of circles anymore.
I mean, it could be. It just, I remember like around that time period, like the late 2000s, prior to 2010, I remember, going to Halloween parties and seeing women dressed up in fairy tale characters, but it was the sexy version, not like Cinderella in her full dress. It was like a mini skirt type dress or, and the boobs hanging out and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be my 2007 moment for sure, were those costumes.
Maybe next year for Halloween, I'll dress up as a sexy fat dude.
Isn't that what you did last year when you were dodgeball?
Oh, that costume was like, I don't know.
It looked uncomfortable.
Well, I don't I don't know if somebody swapped out the shirt or what, but the shorts were too big.
Yeah.
And the shirt was too small.
Yeah, you didn't have a lot of luck with that one.
And I had trouble breathing at times too.
I know.
I felt like I had a...
You were a sport though, and then I just wore some lame like stuff I had here in a witch's hat. That was it.
What are those? Is it a corset that women used to put around their midsection?
Yeah, it's a corset.
Give that hourglass. Okay, yeah, that's kind of what it felt like I had.
And now they do shapers.
Yeah, see, I should have worn one of those.
Should have got you a shaper from Amazon.
I would have
some Spanx.
I would have gotten. What was that Kardashian one? Skims.
That Kim put out.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus, I don't. I think so, but man, she's making some money off that shit.
Yeah, I'd have totally rocked a Skim. I'd probably need. Well, then again, like I don't know, like
she's making mad money from that, like a lot of money. From like they're saying, like it's even more than the Keeping Up with the Kardashian show. She's a billionaire now by herself, not through Kanye.
Yeah.
So
you go, girl.
I know. We'll get you. She's giving Spanx a run for their money.
Yeah. New category here. We call it. I'm trying to find a sponsor for this. Okay. Last week, I think we tried the Waffle House. I have not heard anything back yet, so we're going to try Bob Evans this week. We're calling this the Bob Evans Hot Off the Skillet Take for your hottest take about this movie. So, do you have a hot take?
You got remind me of what a hot take is.
It's just something that like would kind of make it. It goes against the normal opinion of something.
Okay.
Like if somebody were like using a sports analogy, you would say like a hot take would be, well, it's not really, this isn't a super hot take, but you would say something like, I feel Kobe Bryant is a better basketball player than Michael Jordan because of whatever. That would be a hot take.
So it's an opinion that's not maybe
an unpopular opinion. Or something that would make people like, okay.
Well, you go first, and then I'm gonna think about it for a second.
Well, I kind of tossed this around a little bit. And I thought like this, originally it was going to be, this should be an essential like Halloween movie, but it's like, that's not really a hot take. But today, while at work, sometimes I get these epiphanies. I think I do most of my best brainstorming at work because I'm anywhere but work in my mind.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers studio that put this out has a vast collection of like pretty good horror movies. They've done the Nightmare on Elm Street series. They did The Exorcist. They did The Shining. Okay. They're the home of the Conjuring franchise. They did the It movies.
Okay.
My hot take is Trick or Treat is a top 3 horror movie franchise for the Warner Brothers family. And I'd say the only two...
Like they should have made more? Is that what you're saying? Or they should...
No, well, they should make more for sure. I don't know why they haven't, especially now with the rise of video on demand. But
right.
I would say in the horror franchise catalog that I feel that only Freddy Krueger, the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and The Exorcist are more important in the Warner Brothers horror library than this movie.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Because, I mean, for me, this is a Halloween movie. They don't make, they make horror movies geared around the holiday, but this is a Halloween movie.
So you're saying in terms of Halloween movies, this would be those two.
I'm just saying in horror. I mean, like I think this is probably a pretty damn good anthology movie. Just the way everything's tied together. They have rules set up in place. And honestly, I don't understand why they haven't done sequels to this shit. I mean, it's a ready-made franchise. You can do tons of different stuff.
Yeah. Especially if you just wanted to keep going the anthology route.
Yeah, and they've been talking about doing a sequel for a while, but it's never...
Yeah, I would definitely like to see a sequel, but I can't sit here and say that it's a better horror movie series than Nightmare on Elm Street because...
No, I said that it would be Nightmare on Elm Street and then The Exorcist, then Trick or Treat. So I think it's better than The Shining. I'd say it's better than the Conjuring series. I think it's better than...
What was the other series?
They did It 1 and 2.
Oh, okay. So you're saying it would be what again? What would be your order? Nightmare on Elm Street, Exorcist,
well, not
and then...
Exorcist. I mean, I think The Exorcist would be number one, obviously, because I think The Exorcist is probably in the horror genre is probably like one of the most important movies in that genre. Because it was like I would say it's like one of the first big box office hits of the genre, and
I don't remember who directed that.
The late William Friedkin. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure.
But yeah, it'd be The Exorcist, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Trick or Treat. And I judge a lot of movies on how often I can rewatch them.
I'd agree with that.
Like Nightmare on Elm Street, I can revisit that
right
countless times. The Exorcist, I think we haven't watched it in a couple of years, but it used to be almost essential viewing this time of the year.
It did, but we have Evie now, so you can't really watch anything like that around her. Yeah. There's only certain horror movies you can have on when she's around.
Right.
Or awake, I should say.
But outside of that, like The Shining, I think The Shining is a fantastic movie, but I can't watch it that often.
It's not one I gravitate to. I might watch The Shining every 3 to 5 years.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact, I think that movie is like, it's almost 3 hours long, isn't it?
Yeah, and Stephen King doesn't even like that movie. So, I mean, if you're talking about the book compared to the movie, I prefer the book. Mm-hmm. I think that The Shining could have been a lot more. I mean, we're not talking about The Shining. That's not what this episode is about. The Shining has a lot of problems for me when comparing it from the book to the movie, but that's another episode.
It runs 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah. That's part of the problem is it's too long.
Yeah, it's a slow burn for a horror movie.
Just I think sometimes people think, well, if I'm making a movie based off a Stephen King book, because his books by nature tend to be pretty long. I mean, at least like 400 to 500 pages at a minimum with some few exceptions. I think the thought process is, well, the book's long, so the movie has to be long. And that's not necessarily always the case. But I would agree that Trick or Treat would definitely be above The Shining for sure. So.
Yeah. So I'm guessing since you support
but hot take, but that said, because I'm rambling, I apologize, but,
no one listens anyway, so
stop.
You don't even listen.
Oh, stop. We've already verified why I haven't listened as of recent.
That's the scariest part of this whole episode is the fact that you...
I mean, another hot take that I would have, though, not really. I mean, other than what you've already stated, gosh, I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to run through something that would be something that would not be a popular opinion, I guess. But I can't really think of anything.
Okay, well, we'll go with mine then.
I guess it would be more so a question versus a hot take. I wonder if not making it an anthology movie, but keeping it in the same like storyline would have worked.
Oh, so an unsolved mystery, the movie. I didn't put that in there.
Oh,
because
is that what that would be, an unsolved mystery?
Yeah. Well, hey, we'll pivot to that then.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't put it because they kind of put a nice little bow on everything. You kind of know what happens to everybody. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really think to answer it, but I don't think it would have worked quite as well.
You don't think so?
Because you're stretching this stuff out too long.
Right. True. And it's like, how would you put that into one story and mesh it all together versus how they have it laid out? I can't. Yeah. I've wondered that, but I think it would be very tricky to do that and it be as nearly, it wouldn't be as good, obviously, as what it is, but anything, I think it would come out like a turd.
Well,
mainly.
Another question. So. Instead of doing a movie sequel, you did this as a limited run television show. Put it out every October, put it on Max.
I mean, I could see that. And you could do a different story per episode. Mm-hmm. Kind of like how they do the Dark Mirror series on Netflix, something like along those lines.
Yeah, just do 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah, and that's what they normally do with that. And each episode's like 50 minutes or something.
Yep. I think that would work as a...
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah, instead of stretching out, I was like, one of the stories is because... I don't know, there'd be too much filler in between all that stuff to make it like a whole movie. So, yeah, that's kind of a good question. The last category is another new one.
Okay.
We call this the Hall of Fame segment. I will ask you a series of I make a random statement, random question, asking you this movie, if there were such a thing as the movie Hall of Fame, which there is, but this is the Couch Brotato Podcast Hall of Fame. We don't have an actual physical building yet, but if you're interested in donating, I do take PayPal, Apple Pay, and checks. We can get this thing off the ground. Shoot us an email. It's in the show description if you would like to know where to send said donation to the Couch Brotato Podcast Hall of Fame. But anyways, I'll ask you some questions, and I'll see if this movie makes the Couch Brotato Podcast Hall of Fame for you. Would this be in the Hall of Fame of direct-to-DVD movies?
Oh, for sure.
I'd say so too, because this has become a cult classic.
Yeah.
And it never got a theatrical release.
Right. I would agree with that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Would this movie make the Brian Cox wing of the Hall? Like, when you think of Brian Cox, do you think of Trick or Treat?
Well, I didn't even know that he was Logan Roy from Succession until you said that. Do I think you're saying like he's the actor that should make it? Is that
no? Like if you have a Brian Cox wing of the Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. Got
and you had like.
Because he's kind of like the main person in that. Is that
he's probably the biggest star out of it now. Yeah. Would you remember Brian Cox? Like when somebody says name some Brian Cox stuff, would that be the first thing you would name off? Would be this movie? I say no.
No, it wouldn't. I would think of Succession, knowing that.
Yeah, now. Succession. Yeah. Obviously, I think that's what he's most known for.
If we were saying, out of horror movies or whatever. What do you remember Brian Cox from? Well, that's kind of a clue. Obviously, I would say Trick or Treat, but just saying overall, I wouldn't say Trick or Treat. No.
I would say Succession. I would say Manhunter, which he was the first actor to play Hannibal Lecter.
He was?
Yeah, Michael Mann, one of my favorite directors.
You're talking about like the movies? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
He played Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter, which came out in, I think, 1986.
He was before Anthony Hopkins?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Michael Mann did Manhunter. It had Brian Cox was Hannibal Lecter, William Peterson from CSI, the original.
Oh, okay.
He played Will Graham. And then they remade that years later as Red Dragon.
Oh,
and Anthony Hopkins was Hannibal Lecter.
Okay.
So I'd also remember him from that. And he was also William Stryker in Arguably the best
yeah.
X-Men movie of all time.
Yeah.
X-Men 2.
Yep, I remember him from that movie. Yep.
Would Sam, the main character, the mascot, whatever, would Sam make the Hall of Fame of horror movie characters?
Oh, for sure.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
All right, if you're putting in 5, would he go in?
No, probably not. Not for me.
Okay. Who would it be?
Who would my 5 be?
Yeah.
My 5 would be Jason Voorhees, and I'm not putting them in order. I'm just naming 5 off the top of my head. Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger. Let's see. Reagan from The Exorcist. Pennywise from It. And probably Chucky. Honestly,
That should have been.
I love Chucky. From Child's Play. So I'd have to say those would probably be my
That
5.
should have been your Bob Evans hot off the skillet take, because I would have.
What, you wouldn't have chosen Chucky?
It would have been Jason Voorhees.
Okay.
It would have been Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
Would have been Michael Myers.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm not as big a fan of the Halloween movies as some other people are. Like, I like them, but if I'm going to pick between Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween, I'm going to watch Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
So that's the only reason why.
I had Reagan from The Exorcist, obviously. And I have Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, I forgot about that. See, if I had more time to think about it.
Well, that's the purpose of this exercise is I don't want to give you time to think. I just want you to rattle off.
Well, I did that, so there we go.
I changed the name of that category, but yeah, definitely would make it. I mean, he's a cool character. I think he was like the it character in terms of horror. It seems like it was Jigsaw for a little while. Then if there was a heavyweight champion of like horror characters, it was Jigsaw had it. And then Sam had it for a while. I mean, he's pretty much plastered all over Spirit Halloween now.
Still?
Oh, yeah. Like when we were over there a few weeks ago, they had all kinds of trick-or-treat shit over there.
I didn't even pay attention. I was too busy looking at Beetlejuice stuff.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it was trick-or-treat, and Beetlejuice seemed to be what dominated.
Yeah, they had some cool Beetlejuice stuff there.
All right. The last one, vomiting scenes in movies. Does this make the Hall of Fame for that?
Oh, yeah.
You think?
Mm-hmm. With Thurman Merman, that was pretty brutal. I mean, at first you're like, yeah, but then he's just like, wow, like it's like a ridiculous, like how is that? You're looking at that and you think he probably was puking up his organs. It was like they were just fucking liquefied.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty gruesome. I definitely think that would make the Hall of Fame. How about you?
I don't know. Like, I definitely, the number one's obviously Reagan from The Exorcist.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. The one always sticks out to me outside of The Exorcist is Problem Child 2, when Junior gets control of the. Because let's be honest,
you talking about where they're at the carnival?
Yeah, everyone goes to their carnival. Fuck. Those aren't like real rides; those are just puke rides.
That's awful. Yeah, that's a bad one. That's a bad one.
Yeah, the carnival rides are not fun rides.
I was thinking of like just puking in horror movies and not necessarily puking in general.
Just in film.
Oh, I don't know. Wasn't there a scene in one of the Terrifier movies where they were puking?
I think so. I haven't watched them in a little while.
It is probably terrible. Yeah, Terrifier 1 or 2 probably wins one of those, to be honest with you. I would just have to rewatch them or look it up. But
well, I think Terrifier 2, I don't think there's any vomiting scenes in the movie, but there were news stories that came out that people were getting sick watching the movie.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's pretty damn gory.
Yeah. Well, that's all I had in terms of the Hall of Fame category.
Okay.
You were a trooper. Thank you.
For what? Oh,
for playing along.
For sitting through why you were goading me about not listening to your podcast because you've put out a shit ton of wrestling episodes recently.
It's not a shit ton.
It's a shit. It's a lot. I mean, for me, like, it's just, you know, if you put out a lot of wrestling stuff, it's not likely I'll listen to it. And I don't know if you know this or not, but when you follow a show and if it has automatic downloads, if you delete say you delete 3 episodes in a row or something because they don't capture your fancy or whatever, if you delete those episodes without listening to them, iTunes is where I listen to my podcast, and it will actually remove the automatic download selection to where you still follow the show, but you have to manually download it. So that happens to me all the time, and that's actually what happened with your show, because I was going through my library of shows that I listened to the other day, and there were a crap ton on there that I have been missing episodes because I wasn't interested in 2 or 3 in a row. And I was like weeks behind.
Oh, you seen like
so your show wasn't the only one.
Oh, so you seen CM Punk like, oh God, this fucking guy.
No,
again.
it's just that honestly, anything related to wrestling, I likely won't listen to it because I will watch wrestling with you, but I don't follow it in detail like you do. That's all.
All right.
And I think that's fair.
All right. All
Okay.
right, we'll give you that one.
All right.
But you'll listen to this one though, right?
Yeah, I'm going to listen to this one. I still need to listen to the one with you and Steven as well. I'm going to listen to everyone from this month because it's one of the things that I love the most, horror movies.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
And me?
And you. Yeah, of course.
And listen to the Hard Target one too.
I'll try.
All right.
I'll try.
It's a fun episode.
Okay.
All right. Was there anything you want to say about Trick or Treat before we wrap this up?
No, I think you covered it. Thanks for having me on. Hope to do it again soon.
It was awesome having you on. It's been a hot minute, so we'll have to change that. Have to have you back on here soon. Maybe we'll talk a little bit Survivor Series, huh?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's a wrestling.
Maybe we
pay-per-view.
could talk a little. I know what it is. Maybe we could talk a little bit about like Bad Santa too. That's what I would like to do.
I'm not doing Bad Santa 2. If I did Bad
Santa, my bad, not 2.
I ain't
Bad Santa.
I ain't fucking with Bad Santa 2.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode. You can listen to us wherever you get podcasts. If you dig what we're doing here on the show, please be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Those reviews help us get discovered. So if somebody wants to listen to best vomiting scenes in movies, it might bring us up since it'll be in the show description. If you want to follow us, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and I know I keep saying this, eventually on TikTok. I know I have to start uploading some stuff from there. If someone can help me create some of that stuff or show me how to do it, that would be fantastic. You can find all the links to how to get a hold of us, how to follow us on social media in the show description. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. Once again, this is our spooky season month of horror movies. We got an awesome one coming up for you guys next week. Follow us on social media so you can find out what that is. So until next time, we will talk to you guys later.